afternoon, everybody! How you doing today? And welcome to the latest edition of the Drew Mania Live podcast. So great to have you with us for this Thursday, the 30th day of November, the year 2017, the final day of November, as we getting closer towards the end of the 2017 season. And of course, this is Andrew L. Perry. As always, coming live and at you from the busy streets of Brooklyn, New York today. As I chat to you what's happening in the world of sports, we have a lot of football to get to. As for plenty of football to talk about today, we will preview we preview the good old fashioned rivalry between the Washington Redskins and the Dallas Cowboys, and this is a bigger game for either team because the loser most likely is out of playoff contention as far as the NFC wildcard playoff picture is concerned. We'll discuss that. We'll preview tomorrow's show. We'll talk about the championship matchups tonight, including USC versus Stanford for the Pac-12 championship tomorrow. We'll preview all of that tomorrow. But we'll kick off the show talking about the playoff, the college football playoff, because on Tuesday because of breaking news, Eli Manning benching, and yes, it is the topic around the sports world. Basically, everybody giving their thoughts, from Phillip Rivers to Ben Roethlisberger, to to Carl Banks, you name it. Everybody give their opinion about it. Nobody's not defended by a market dude. And basically he just gave himself a certificate to be out the door next year. Because you cannot bring a coach back who told you that Geno Smith give you the possible chance to win the game, especially if you're going against the Oakland Raiders. And even though the Oakland Raiders, let's be honest, they're not going anywhere. Even though Oakland is a tough place to play, and will still be a tough place to play as long as they stay in Oakland. So that's the story here for Eli Manning. That's why we did. But I want to kick again. Let's kick off the show. We're going to start off talking about the countdown, the polls of the college football playoffs. Most likely the final standings, because this Sunday at noon they're going to give up. They're going to have a selection show Sunday to see who be in the playoffs and so forth. Number 1, Clemson. Number 2, Auburn. Number 3, Wisconsin, and number 4, Oklahoma. And Alabama is out. Alabama is out. Me personally, here's all I'll say about Clemson being number 1. How you guys going into a meeting on Tuesday? I understand it's very tricky, and the loss to Alabama was very suspect. But I'm sorry, Clemson is not the number 1 team in college football. Especially you lose to a team like Syracuse. What Clemson did is basically lost a trap game. As I told you last week, Wisconsin should have been your number one team in the country because of their record. And this is the problem with me with college football now. If a strength of schedule they always are trying to argue that strength of schedule is the key. Strength of schedule is irrelevant. It really is. It's irrelevant. Strength of schedule don't mean anything. You still got to play the game. And if you go by the eye test, Wisconsin is clearly the best team in college football. Look at their record and look who they play. Look how they play. So when I hear strength of schedule, I always cringe. And as far as Auburn's concerned, Auburn is perfect where they at. Number 2, I could live with them being number 2. Number 2 or 3, I will live with it. Because you beat a number 1 team. They wasn't going to be number 1. They needed a lot of help because, yeah. Wisconsin, again, they deserve to be number 1 because of their record. The team out of everybody, besides Clemson, who should not, out of all the teams who shouldn't be in the top 4 who shouldn't be in the playoff discussion, I don't care if they win a conference championship or not, it's Oklahoma. Unlike Miami, and even though Iowa State have 4 wins, I believe. You can't tell me that Oklahoma deserves to be in the top 4. Why? Because they beat Ohio State and they blew out Kansas. Come on now. So as far as I'm not too thrilled, but I understand it's a very tricky spot. It's a very, very tricky spot. Honestly, it's more tricky. It's more tricky now than it was last year. Now, speaking of this championship the conference championship, last year I heard from different sources that the conference championships has been a waste of time, and they have. Last year, it seems that it was a waste of time. This year, you don't get that feeling because there's a lot of games. There's a lot of games you can watch this year. Miami, Clemson, Georgia, Auburn in the SEC championship. The Big 12 championship is coming back. Would this help? Would this hurt? Or would this hurt? Would this hurt the college football playoff? Not really. I'm going to say no because Oklahoma has always been the class of the Big 12 since the year 2000. And Bob Stoops, and I thought with Bob Stoops no longer the coach, I thought Oklahoma would slow down and not be the Oklahoma team that we know. Well, that's not the case this year. That's not the case at all. But again, I can't figure out how Clemson is the number 1. How are you going to tell me, a guy who's been watching college football his whole life, is going to tell me that Clemson is the best team in college football? Look, I understand they play better and they bounce back, but it's really tough to fathom where it's really hard to fathom who else will you, besides Wisconsin, who else would you put? And that's where I feel where the committee is getting a little tricky. Get a little tricky. But nonetheless, we'll spend more time on the championship, on the conference championship tomorrow. In the meantime, let's preview the Cowboys and the Redskins, and now, can we calm down? Now, the Cowboys have big expectations after how they played last year. Now it's not looking so much because the loser of this game will be eliminated. Most likely will have a 3% chance of making the playoffs. And honestly, do you see either team making the playoffs? I don't think so. But a lot could change in the next 4 weeks as the regular season is so. We got 5 weeks, 5 games left in the regular season. This regular season will soon come to a close in football as the Redskins. The Redskins. Listen, they are fortunate. Yes, last Thursday they both play on Thanksgiving. Obviously, they both was fortunate. One was embarrassed by the Chargers, and the other was fortunate to escape from against a 2-9 team, which is the New York Football Giants. And I don't know. Do you really care about this game? Not really. So if it was up to me, the Redskins could help the Eagles out by clinching for wrapping up the East if the Cowboys lose tonight. And the Cowboys gotta play much better, obviously, because last week they just look, especially their defense. Their defense, besides the Giants, have one of the worst defense in the National Football League. They give up big plays after big plays after big plays, way too many times. And if you're a Cowboys fan, you really panicking. And I didn't think, and you could clearly tell they miss Ezekiel Elliott a lot. Ezekiel Elliott was their offense. And without Ezekiel Elliott,